Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back from the ad break. You are still watching Prime Life. Now, we are very pleased to welcome Amina Dindar, a dietitian who is here to help us navigate the challenging landscapes of, healthy eating habits, especially at work. Now, with her expertise, Amina will guide us through the common pitfalls of workplace snacking, the importance of staying hydrated and eating regularly, and practical tips for squeezing in some exercise even on busy weekdays. Assalamu alaikum, Amina. Welcome to Prime Life.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakallah so much for having me.
Jazakallah so much. I will just jump straight into it. What are the top three mistakes that people make, especially when it comes to eating habits in a workplace?
That's such a nice question because there's so many mistakes. But if I look at the top three, I would think skipping meals, especially breakfast. That morning rush is always so hectic. So we often think, if I skip breakfast, I'm going to save some time and even save some calories. But this usually backfires, leading to fatigue, low concentration, and usually overeating later on. Number two, definitely mindless snacking. Those workplace snacks that are always there. And it's usually out of boredom, stress. We like to grab some biscuits, some chocolate, some sweets during a meeting, or constantly nibbling on whatever's available in the office, in the cafeteria, or from the vending machine. And usually it's never the healthiest options. And number three is also lack of planning. We often think, I'm finishing work off early today, or I know I'm going to have a hectic day, so I'm not even going to pack a lunch bag. I'm not going to get to it. What happens by mid-afternoon, we're starving, and that convenience of Uber Eats or Mr. D, so that reliance on takeaway foods, which are usually high in sodium, saturated fats, and refined carbs. These prove as a very quick fix for that mid-afternoon slump, but they don't support sustained energy or long-term health in any way. So definitely, I think those are the top three mistakes we're making when it comes to eating in our workplace.
Jazakallah so much for sharing that with us. And now, can you please recommend some simple, healthy snack options that are easy to pack and eat on the go?
Yes, most definitely. It's so important because healthy snacks, you want to look for balanced carbs. You want to look for something that is a healthy fat and a lean protein, because that's really going to keep you going and keep your energy levels sustained. And it's quite difficult when it comes to the workplace, because you want to take things that are shelf stable. You don't want to take something like a banana that's if you forget to eat it, it's goners. So you want to look for things that are shelf stable. Look at something like crackers and pair that with a nut butter, pair that with those little tuna packets that you get. That can be something so satisfying, and it will really fill you up. It will give you that concentration that you need. Um, Look at fruits that are also shelf stable, like apples, naartjies, oranges, pears. Really great options to take to the workplace, especially if you tend to forget it or you don't have time to eat it. It's still good for the next day. Always pair that with a little bit of yogurt, plain low-fat yogurt. Pair that with some nuts and some seeds, and you have a nice balanced snack. Another easy thing to do and so easy to carry along is a trail mix. Making a homemade combination of nuts and seeds. You can add a little bit of dried fruit in there for a bit of sweetness and added fiber. And it's so simple, so easy. You can make a large amount and keep it at work even. Smoothies can often work nicely if you're prepping it at home before you go. Energy bars can also work nicely. And there's so many out there. So also be mindful about what energy bars you're choosing. Try and do a bit of homemade energy bars. And muffins also. If you're making a nice homemade high fiber muffin, it can work as a great treat, a great filler for a home snack.
Mm, definitely. Now, many people struggle with, unhealthy eating habits due to stress, boredom, sometimes even peer pressure at work. How can individuals like these overcome these obstacles and maintain a healthy eating habit?
This is really such a common challenge. And I think the first step is just creating that awareness, trying to notice why you're reaching for different foods. Is it emotional eating? Is it out of habit? Is it a social influence? And then you can work on changing that behavior. It's important to keep, like I was talking about, nourishing snacks. Try and keep these nourishing snacks at your desk, because if you're going to forget your snacks, it's very tempting to go down to the vending machine and grab something that's unhealthy. Having breaks in between, going for a little bit of a walk, a little bit of a stretch, a breather can also be really important, because we often find ourselves with, having those stress induced snacking that we go through. So those little 5-minute breathers can be really important to reduce your stress levels and also um, improve your eating. Be mindful when eating, even if it's just that 10 minutes that you sit down at your table and you focus on what you're eating. Put your phone down, try and zone into your meal and focus on what you're eating and how is it nourishing you.
Mm. And in terms of meal prepping, because we often hear that if you want to, get on a healthy journey, the best thing is for you to start maybe meal prepping, because a lot of people who work struggle with, creating healthy meals on the go because of, the busyness that gets in their way. Are there any meal prep preparation tips that you can give to our viewers?
Yes, most definitely. Meal prepping doesn't have to be complicated or time consuming. The most important thing is that planning. Writing down on a weekly basis, taking some time on your Saturday or Sunday and writing down what you're going to be eating for the week. And that will also give you a bit of time to prepare for the week, doing your shopping, cutting up your vegetables, prepping or marinating your meats, your proteins, and getting everything gathered, because the most of the time we make these unhealthy habits or these unhealthy choices um, when we're unprepared, when we don't have things available. So meal planning over the weekend is really, really important. Another important thing is batch cooking. If you're making something, try and cook double or triple portions, and then you can sort of freeze them. Or maybe if you spend some time over the weekend and you try and grill all your proteins, you chop up your vegetables, you prepare some of your starches, and you keep them in the fridge for the week ahead. That's really important. Freezing is also can work really nicely. Like I said, try and freeze some of the items, things like soups, curries, stews, they freeze really nicely. So freezing them can be really such a time saver and such a good way to help you with prepping for the week ahead.
Mm. Jazakallah so much for sharing that with us. Now let's talk about the importance of drinking water. We do know that it's very crucial for us to stay hydrated. Now that it's winter, it might be very difficult for a lot of people to do that. But also, let's getting back to our initial topic, which is in the workspace, particularly people don't have maybe enough time to drink water. Please highlight to us the importance of incorporating a healthy water intake in our diet on a daily basis.
Definitely it's so important. Hydration is key for so many bodily functions. It improves our energy, our focus, it helps with digestion, and it can help. Also help us to regulate our appetite. Often we find ourselves looking for snacks, but it's actually our body's way of telling us that we're thirsty or we're dehydrated, so we need some more water. Even mild dehydration can cause things like fatigue and poor concentration in the workplace, and it's often mistaken for hunger, like I said. So just sipping throughout the day is really important. Focus on those little sips of water, keeping your water bottle right at your table side, and sipping on your water throughout the day is really important. If you're someone that doesn't drink water and you're starting to include water, even focus on something like a little bit of like an alarm, setting an alarm, just to create that habit of drinking water, or associating water with an activity that you're doing. So, for example, if you're at the workplace, simple things like maybe every time you send an email, you have your little sip of water. In winter, like you were saying, it's really difficult to drink enough water. But remember, things like herbal teas can contribute significantly towards your water intake. So sip on those warm herbal teas. They're really excellent, high in antioxidants, and a great way to stay hydrated. Soups also contribute towards your water intake. So remember that when dishing out your bowl of soup.
Mm, definitely. And in terms of regular eating, let's talk about the importance of regular meals and, how skipping meals can actually impact one's health.
No, definitely. Skipping meals, often what happens is that it really impacts our fatigue. It really impacts things like your concentration. It affects your energy levels. And then what happens is that we tend to overeat later on. So trying not to skip your meals are really important. Set a regular meal routine. Try and focus on eating every 2 to 3 hours so that you're not staying for long periods of time without eating, and also you're not eating too quickly together. So your meals are not all clustered. So make sure that you have that routine. So if breakfast was at 8 o'clock, your next meal is only going to be after 10, and then don't wait later than 11 o'clock to have your next snack or your next meal. So make sure you have a regular routine around your meals. It's really important. Try and make your meals and your snacks portable, you know, easy and convenient, something that you can grab quickly and eat, especially if your lunch break, if your tea breaks are really short. Try and make sure that your snacks or your meals are portable so it's really easy to pick up and eat quickly, especially if you know you're having a busy day. So I think that's really important.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Now, before we let you go, let's talk about the importance of incorporating exercise in one's daily life, because also in terms of working and people that are really, really busy, it's very hard for them to incorporate exercise and also having a lot of movements in their day. So can you please tell us in what ways can we incorporate, exercise and also making sure that we are moving so that our bodies can remain healthy?
You're so right. Movement is so important. And in winter, we get so little movement. We all want to just be sort of warm and cuddled up. But even a little movement goes a long way. The key is to break up long periods of sitting and to make movement part of your routine. So those little getting up from your desk and taking a walk, either to fill up your water bottle, to drop off something at a colleague, to chat to a colleague, those little bits of standing up and moving are really important. Um, we also need to try and use our lunch break and our tea break more effectively. So instead of just sitting for that length of time, try and do a bit of movement during that time. Go for a walk, get some fresh air, get some sunlight. It's really important, not only for the movement, but the fresh air, the sunlight. That's so important to help with concentration, to balance out your sugar levels. Really, really important. And they are such great mood boosters. Look at simple things like desk stretches. Sorry, I think we forget the importance and the significance of that little movement under your desk when no one's even going to know what you're doing are really, really important. They are so important for circulation, and they're really important to improve your posture as well. Often a lot of our meetings are telephonic. If possible, try and do walking meetings, especially if it's on the phone. It's such a simple way. We don't realize that we could easily be on the phone for 10, 15, even 20 minutes at a time. And imagine you walked during that time. You would have gotten in so many additional steps for the day. And lastly, and I think this is really important, is um, remember, when it comes to movement, it's about consistency. So try to include habits that breed consistency. It's not so much about that long 1 hour gym session. It's really about the consistency. So simple things like parking further away so that you get that extra walk in. Things like using the stairs instead of the lift or the escalator is really, really important to increase our movement. And it's those really small things that we can do with consistency. Waking up 5 minutes earlier to do an additional amount of movement or stretches are also really important and can be such an important part of a healthy lifestyle.
I mean, Amina, jazakallah so much for just sharing with us the importance of incorporating a healthy diet but also exercise into our daily lives. So thank you so much for your time.
Jazakallah so much for having me.
Jazakallah. Viewers at home, that was Amina, who was just telling us about the importance of, the challenging landscape of healthy eating habits at work, but also the tips and ways in which we can incorporate a healthy diet, but also making sure that we exercise while having a busy day or even busy days at work. But without wasting any time, let's go to a quick break. We'll see you right after this.